Going on? Hello, hello. I figured why not give it a shot and read some Edgar Allan Poe on a spooky Halloween day. It's overcast, it's cloudy. Happy Halloween. Weirdly, I love Halloween. I think Halloween's a great holiday. So, we're going to wait a few minutes before we read. I think I'm just going to read two stories Telltale Heart, obviously, and The Cask of Amontillado. I don't know how to say that properly. The Raven. We should just read The Raven as a. That'll be the intro. Where's the Raven in this? If they don't have the Raven in this book, there's no way. Annabelle Lee for Annie. The Raven. They got it. Yeah, we got to read that. That'll be the first poem that I read. I like Poe. His meter, his spookiness. The Raven is a classic. What's up, guys? I'm sure there's not gonna be that many people today, so probably gonna be like an hour-long stream of just reading these stories, just because why not? You know, little chilly fall day. Happy Halloween. I haven't read a lot of his poetry. The Valley of Unrest. A lot of these sound scary. Which is true because he's a horror writer. The Sleeper, City in the Sea, Israfel, the Helen, Romance. You read a long one. Ooh, you read a long Al Araf. The Science, Stanzas. We'll see. What's up, guys? I don't know if I've ever read The Fall of the House of Usher. I have that in here. Because that's what the main book is. The Fall of the House of Usher. What's that about? Is that like full-on horror? The Fall of the House of Usher. I want to see how long that is. Letters. I gotta find this. Hold on. The Fall of the House of Usher. See how long this is. Is it a short story? Or a poem? Can't find it. There it is. Fall of the House of Usher. 20 pages. That's not bad. Page 90. Ooh, The Fall of the House of Usher has a poem in it. Maybe I'll read that in my own time. Like a little story, a little short story. Let's read The Raven. We'll open up with The Raven, and then we'll do The Cask, and then The Telltale Heart will finish. Telltale Heart will be the penultimate, or the ultimate one. Penultimate means second to last, right? The ultimate means the last. These are short stories too, like short stories. Amontillado. All right. This is The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Welcome to a spooky Friday Halloween. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." Distinctly I remember. It was a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. nameless here forevermore. It's windy outside. Oh, did you memorize this poem? Great, I love that. And the silken said uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, 'tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, I said, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. What's up, Cecilia? Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore. Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what there is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and a flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but, with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, are sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on thy night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled, this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human bird ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom mercifully disaster followed faster and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of a bird, and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grimly, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, at the lamp light gloated o'er, but whose violet lining with lamplit gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. That's a sad stanza. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretched, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee, respite, and nepenthe. What does that word mean? From thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff, this kind nepenthe, and forgotten his lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, think of evil, or thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, with the distant aiding, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare, radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or friend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy break from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. Creepy. Favorite poem? I love that that's your favorite poem. Creepy little poem. All right, we're reading The Cask. Ooh, The Mask of Red Death. I can't remember that one. I don't remember that one that well. I remember reading that one in high school. I don't think I've read Poe since high school. But we're going to read The Telltale Heart and The Cask of Amontillado. Is that the proper way to say it? We all know my pronunciation needs some work. You only know Poe because of Gilmore Girls? Is Poe in Gilmore Girls? Ooh, fresh baked mud cake and ice cream. Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. Honestly, being able to teach a raven to say, I mean, I think a raven's probably the smartest bird. I've heard they're smarter, or they can speak the same as parakeets or parrots. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Is The Rime of the Ancient Mariner? That's not Poe, right? What's that? Who's that? Who did that? Proper way to say it is muffled brick noises. Of the two L's, Amontillado. Though, like it's the D like the though. Amontillado. Do or though? Poe is also in Venture Bros? Huh? Coleridge. Little Samuel Coleridge. I don't know if I've read that much of him. There's an episode of Poe Festival in the town, and everyone recites The Raven. What a cute episode. Amontillado. All right. piss off some poet nerds. Iron Maiden. These are really short stories. I forgot how short these are. All right, guys, let's read The Cask of Amontillado. Here we go. I'm just reading 2 little stories. Fun little stream tonight, or today, this morning. Just like a quick stream. Just read some Poe, and then we all go about our day. The Cask of Amontillado. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as best I could. But when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitely settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my goodwill. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato, although in other regards he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity, to practice imposture upon the British and the Austrian millionaires. In painting and gemmery, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack, but in the matter of old wines he was sincere. In this respect I did not differ from him materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk one evening, during the supreme madness of the carnival season, that I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man wore motley. He had on a tight-fitting party-striped dress, and his head was surmounted on the conical caps and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado. I have my doubts." "How?" he said. "Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible! And in the middle of a carnival." "I have my doubts," I replied. "And I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in a matter. For you were not to be found. I was fearful of losing a bargain." "Amontillado? I have my doubts." "Amontillado? And I must satisfy them." "Amontillado? Are you engaged? I am on my way to Lucresi. If anyone has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me. Lucresi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry. And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go." "Whither?" "To your vaults." "My friend, no, I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement." "Lucresi, I have no engagement. Come." "My friend, no. It is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre." "Let us go, nevertheless. The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado, you have been imposed upon. And as for Lucresi, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado." Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm, and putting on a mask of black silk, and drawing Roclair closely about my person, I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until the morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. A little creepy going on right here. A little racist against Italians. Might be, to be honest. Yeah, everyone take a drink every time I say Montiado. I like that your dad used to read this to you. A little creepy story. It's kind of fun. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long, winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together upon the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "The pipe," he said. "It is farther on," I said, "but observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls." He turned toward me, and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the room of its intoxication. "Nitri?" he asked at length. "Nitri," I replied. "How long have you had that cough?" There's literally a full paragraph of coughing. That's crazy. My poor friend. Ooh, got some mood lighting here going on. It's cloudy out right now. My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "It is nothing," he said at last. "Come," I said with decision. "We will go back to your health, or your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me, it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucrece." "Enough," he said. "The cough is a mere thing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough." True, I replied. "And indeed, I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily. But you should use all proper caution. A draught of this medoc will defend us from the damps." Here I knocked off the neck a bottle of wine which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mold. "Drink," I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly, while his bells jingled. "I drink," he said, "to the buried that repose around us." "And I to your long life." He again took my arm, and we proceeded. "These vaults," he said, "are extensive." "Montresors," I replied, "were a great and numerous family." "I forgot your arms." A huge human, foot d'or, and a field azure. The foot crushes a serpent rampant whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto? Nemo me impune lacet. Lacet. What does that mean? What does that mean? Nemo me impune. Nemo is impure. What is I don't know. What does that mean? I know Nemo's famous. Look at that. Someone look that up. I'm about to look it up in a second, but I'm curious what that means. Good, he said. The wine sparkled in his eyes, and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the medoc, and we had passed through the long walls of piled skeletons, with casks and puncheons intermingling, into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by an arm above the elbow. My dog wants to play right now. No one provokes with impunity. Interesting. Nobody attacks me with impunity. Interesting. What's up, Wes? Are you creeped out by the story? You want to play? Come here. Come say hi to everyone. Oh, that's a good stretch. Okay, you're going to leave? The night tree, I said. See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. Your cough. It is nothing, he said. Let us go on. But first, another draught for the medic. I broke and reached him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied it at a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upward with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. You do not comprehend, he said. Not I replied. Then you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not of the Masons. Yes, I said. Yes. You? Impossible. A Mason? A Mason, I replied. A sign, he said. A sign. It is this, I answered, producing from beneath the folds of my éclair a trowel. You jest, he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces, but let us proceed to the Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado, but we passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt, in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeau rather to glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt there appeared another less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vaults overhead, in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of his interior crypt were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th side the bones had been thrown down, and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size, within the wall thus exposed by the displacing of the bones. We perceived a still interior crypt, or recess in the depth about 4 feet, in width 3, in height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no especial use within itself, but formed merely in the interval between 2 of the colossal supports of the roof of the catacombs, and was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depths of the recess. Its termination the feeble light did not enable us to see. Proceed, I said. Herein is the Amontillado. As for the Lutresi, he is an ignoramus, interrupted my friend, and he stepped unsteadily forward while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding its progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples, distant from each other about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these deepened a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the links about his waist, it was but the work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. Pass your hand, I said. Over the wall, you cannot help feeling the nitre. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return. No? Then I must positively leave you. But I must first render you all the little attentions in my power. This is creepy. You guys hear my dog eating his food? I don't know what's going on right now. I don't remember anything about this story. I remember maybe the Telltale Heart a little bit more than this. Pass. Wait, where did I just finish? But I must first render you all the little attentions in my power. The Amontillado, ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. True, I replied, the Amontillado. As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones, of which I had not spoken before. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials and with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry from the depths of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long, obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth. And then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel, and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the flambeau over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form, seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated. I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess. But the thought of the instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs, and felt satisfied. I reapproached the walls. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I re-echoed, I aided, I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamor grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position, but now there came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "Ha, ha, ha, he, he. A very good joke indeed, an excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. Ha, ha, ha. Over our wine. Ha, ha, ha." "The Amontillado," I said. "Ha, ha, 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 ha. Yes, the Amontillado. But it is not getting late. Will they not be awaiting us at the palazzo? Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone." "Yes," he said. "Let us be gone." "For the love of God, Montresor." "Yes," I said, "for the love of God." But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato!" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick. It was the dampness of the catacombs that made it so. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the half of a century, no mortal had disturbed them. In pace requiescat. creepy. What the heck? I haven't read this story for so long, and this is so bizarre. Why did he do this? Is he just sick in the head? Did I miss the explanation for why he did this? Was it just like a rivalry? He just didn't like this guy, so he just encapsulated him in this catacomb? He didn't die of a cough for sure. Did he just not like Fortunato? Was there a family like he said Fortunato insulted him at the beginning? Wait, Fortunato insulted him so he plotted this from the beginning, or he insulted him from the beginning so like they were gonna go get the Amontillado and then he decided halfway through, oh, I'm gonna encapsulate him and I'm gonna bury him alive. It's kind of underwritten too, so the section when he like chains him is kind of it's kind of creepy. Huh. At the front of the tale, it said that it was because he believed Fortunato added insult on top of injury. That's not very specific. I think he plotted it out the whole time. What a... So psychopath. That was really creepy. Man, that was really creepy. All right. Now I'm going to read the Telltale Heart. We'll end with this one. Man, that was really creepy. All right. The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. True. Excuse me. My voice just cracked on the first word. True. Nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous I had been and am. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I heard all things in the heavens and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken, and observe how healthily, how calmly I can tell you the whole story. Oh, this guy's mad. I haven't read this since high school. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain. But once conceived, it haunted me, day and night. Object there was none. Passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture. A pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him. And every night, About midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern. All closed, so that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously. Oh, so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single ray fell upon the vulture eye. And this I did for 7 long nights. Every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed. And so it was impossible to do the work. And it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye. And every morning when the day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone, and inquiring how he had passed the night. So you see, he would have been a very profound old man. Indeed, to suspect that every night, just at 12, I looked in upon him while he slept. Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. A watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was opening the door little by little, and he did not even to dream of my secret deed or thought. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now, you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was black as pitch, with a thick darkness, for the shutters were close fastened through fear of robbers. So I knew that he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing it on steadily. I had my head in, and was about to open the lantern, when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in the bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle. In the meantime, I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall. Presently I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief, oh no. It was a low, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom, deepening with its dreadful echo the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise, when he had turned in the bed. His fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It is nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor," or "It is merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, had stalked with black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. And it was the mournful influence of the perceived shadow that caused him to feel, although he neither saw nor heard, to feel the presence of my head within the room. When I had waited a long time, very patiently, without hearing him lie down, I resolved to open a little, very, very little crevice in the lantern. So I opened it. You cannot imagine how stealthily, until at length a simple dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot out from the crevice and fell upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw it with perfect distinctiveness, in all dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I directed the ray as if by instinct precisely upon the damned spot. And I have not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the senses. Now, I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury, as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet, I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye. Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker, and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me well? I have told you that I am nervous, so I am. And now, at the dead hour of night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet for minutes longer, I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must burst. And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once, only once. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If you think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned. I worked hastily but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. I then took up 3 planks of the floor of the chamber and deposited all between the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatever. I had been far too weary for that. A tub had caught all. Ha! Ha! When I had made an end to these labors, it was 4 o'clock, still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what had I now to fear? There entered 3 men, who intruded themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police. A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear? I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own in a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country. I took my visitors all over the house. I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed. In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which the repose of the corpse of the victim. The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things. But ere long, I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears. But still they sat and chattered. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feelings, but it continued and gained definiteness until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice, yet the sound increased. And what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key, with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, as if excited to fury by the observations of the men. But the noise steadily increased. Oh, God, what could I do? I foamed. I raved, I swore. I swung the chairs upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards, but the noise arose over all and continually increased. It grew louder, louder, louder. And still, the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no. No, they heard, they suspected, they knew, they were making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think, but anything was better than this agony. Anything was more tolerable than this derision. I could bear those hypocritical smiles no longer. I felt that I must scream or die, and now again, hark, louder, louder, louder. Villains, I shrieked. Dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks here, here. It is a beating of his hideous heart. Dang, what an ending. It just ends. It just straight up ends like that. That was disturbing. What the heck? Yeah, I love how perfectly and completely sane this guy is. I love how he tells that over and over again. Guys, I'm in my right head. Just you won't believe how well I did this whole thing. What a creepy story. Wow, I haven't read that since high school. That was creepier than I remembered. I remember someone made like a video about it. Someone like animated it and made it look really, really cool. Gosh, that was terrifying. It really is such a wild story. I guess his stories are like in the mind of like serial killers and sociopaths and, some of the people that are a little strange. There was an ad break right at the murder? No. Oh, Cecilia, you don't have Halloween in South Africa? That's sad. Do you have any holiday like that? Halloween is a great holiday. House of Usher ends abruptly too. Maybe I'll read that later, my own time. I guess his stories do kind of end abruptly. The cast kind of ended abruptly. They don't like tell you into much else. I think he's just kind of interested in getting you into the mind of these people. I wonder what Poe was like in real life. What a creepy story. Wow. Well, guys, that's all I got for today. It was a fun little stream for Halloween. Reading some creepy stories for Halloween. Anybody ever read I remember there was another story that I read in high school called what is it? The Monkey Paw? I remember that was terribly creepy. That's a good Halloween story too. Who's that written by? W.W. Jacobs? I'm glad you enjoyed the reading. The ad break started exactly when he pounced on the guy. That's great. Cecilia, I love that. Every day is Halloween in South Africa, where you're from. Poe did seem pretty messed up. Seemed like a strange dude. Now I want to read about his life. What is the pit and the pendulum about? The pendulum. It's a good, like, creepy story to read to a kid at night. If they ever misbehave, read them that story. Honestly, that's like almost too creepy. Dang. Ugh. The pit and the pendulum. About a prisoner? His pet raven is stuffed in the Central Library of Philly. That's crazy. That's actually kind of cool. It's about a pit that has a pendulum. That makes sense. Ugh. I feel like I needed to go bathe after that story. Go brush my teeth or something. I've never been like that and interested in serial killer documentaries or any of that kind of stuff. They've always been a little too creepy for me. The Monkey's Paw, W.W. Jacobs. I remember that story being really creepy too. Don't they have wishes or something like that? Ugh. You know what I was kind of thinking? Edgar Allan Poe has some similarities to Flannery O'Connor. But Flannery O'Connor has normal people in her stories and not like psychopaths, but they're all pretty horrendous. Lana, come on. Lana, you can rewind. I'm about to end the stream, but you can rewind and listen to the read. But I'm generally not like a horror person. I don't like it all that much. But like a good story like that, that's that's kind of like tame horror. I don't want to go into the deep recesses of that guy's mind that much. Just him saying, "Oh, you wouldn't believe." I love the first paragraph of that. Legitimately, the first paragraph is the best written paragraph in the entire story. Because that is exactly something a madman would say. I gotta reread this. Come on, where's the story? Eleonora, the Telltale Heart. The first paragraph. True, nervous, very, very dreadfully nervous I had been in them. But why will you say that I am mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing acute. I had heard all things in heaven and earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthily, how calmly I tell you the whole story. That is such a madman saying. What sickness did he have? Because he said he had a sickness. Sickness of the mind, the disease had sharpened my senses. What's his disease? Would he have murdered him if he hadn't awakened him by accident? Great question, actually. I feel like no. He probably would have eventually murdered him. Because there had eventually, like, did he make the noise on purpose and say it, and did he say that he did it by accident? Just anxiety? Interesting. Maybe. That's like extreme anxiety. Gosh. I don't know very many people's anxiety that makes them, yeah, I think it's the disease of craziness. He was probably in a mental institution. No? Syphilis? Maybe. Syphilis. Cholera. Something weird back then. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Nemo. I don't love jump scares all that much. But like long periods of like uncomfort, I don't mind that much. Like dread is more my flavor of horror, even though I don't do horror that much. Tuberculosis, honestly. He had tuberculosis, so that made him murder someone. Creepy dude. Gosh. Man, that's so wild. Creepy story, actually. Syphilis did drive people crazy. Wow. I wonder if he was in his right mind and then got driven crazy. Or if he was crazy, went to a mental institution, and they said he had a disease. And then murdered someone. Nemo, we need an essay channel for yours. I feel like you have really good thoughts. All right, everyone. I'm going to jump off. Thanks for joining in. This was just a fun little diversion. We're going to get back to Lord of the Rings. I'm going to go read an essay right now on the comedy of the chapter. And then we have a live read coming Sunday afternoonish, probably like 2:30ish. I think I just posted a link for it, or not a link, but I just posted I just scheduled it right before this. And I don't know anything about that chapter, so I'm curious what it's going to be like. You know, that's why you write. Writing makes an exact person. What's the saying? And who said it? I forgot who said it. Probably Abraham Lincoln, because everyone has it for Abraham Lincoln. Writing makes an exact man. I gotta look up the whole saying because I like that saying. By Sir Francis Bacon. Reading maketh a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. Sir Francis Bacon. I'm glad you're excited for the next Lord of the Rings video. The one that got published today apparently is very controversial. Everyone is railing me in the comments, saying that I have a bad understanding of Eowyn, which I probably do at the moment, but through my reading right now, I think it's all right. I'm just confused. That's what I make essays where I just am confused about certain things. And that's what I do. I want to look. I got to respond to some comments. Knowledge is power. France is bacon. Oh, that's a great one. Good writing is clear thinking made visible. A fortune cookie. That's a wise fortune cookie. I'm glad that you like my takes on Lord of the Rings. It is fun to just talk about it. I like, even if I have good takes, bad takes, it's fun just for myself. I'm almost making the channel just for myself, just to process my thoughts on it. It's like a diary. It's like a daily diary of my readings of Lord of the Rings. And then you guys all just get to read my diary. France is bacon indeed. Yeah, I'll come to understand Eowyn a bit as I go on. But we'll get there. I still have lots of reading to go. I got the rest of these books, The Hobbit, the appendices, the Silmarillion. We got lots of stuff still going on. So I'm pretty pumped for it all. But that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for just joining me. I like a fun little stream like this. Honestly, one of my favorite things that I do on this channel, I love the live reads, but I really love a quiet stream like this. Like, not a lot of people. So it's just kind of fun to just chat with fewer people and just hang out. The next podcast, I'm not sure. We might have to reformat the podcast, unfortunately, because Jen and Danny just had a kid. They are a little under a month. Their child is, I want to say, 4 weeks old. And it's tough to try to figure out a schedule. So me and Lizzie might do a podcast. Danny might still do it. Jen is probably out. But I texted them a little bit later, or a little bit earlier this week, and they seemed like very busy with a newborn. So we'll see. I don't know when the next one's gonna be, but I might send them a text later and ask them about what they want to do for it. So we'll see. But I don't know. We'll see. that was what I was texting in an email. How dare they take care of their child when we have Lord of the Rings to talk about? Well, guys. Yeah, I'll send them off here, guys. Congrats. Babies are so selfish. Come on. So we'll figure out when the next group podcast is going to be. We might have to just abandon it, unfortunately. But if we do abandon it, then me and Lizzie will do something. We'll just do a discussion on the rest of the books. Yeah, we'll see. I'll text him later today, and we'll figure it out. But guys, have a great. I do hope they get some sleep too. Have a great Halloween, guys. Enjoy your Fridays. Hopefully your weekend is great, and I'll see you guys on Sunday when we do a live read of the next chapter, the last of the week. I don't really know anything about that chapter, so I'm pretty excited to read it. So I'll see you guys then. That's all I got. Have a good one, guys. And trick or treat. I know, Cecilia agreed. It wasn't during Harry Potter. They finally got through that. Later, guys.